Welcome back, welcome in, welcome all to the Like That Podcast, episode 22 with just the two ends today, Nico and Nick. Nick chilling in the darkness with the TV light behind him. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. There's nothing wrong with my lighting. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean I say that as
It is a
like
little dark in here.
it's perfectly light outside, but I have my shades down to avoid all the extra lighting in here. But
Yeah.
anything exciting outside the world of basketball that's happened to you?
Um, no, not really. I mean, this weather has sucked. I don't know. I know down where you are, you've been getting hit pretty hard with the snow, but down here in Mass, dude, it's been awful. Like last 2 weeks, it's been terrible.
I don't know if you saw any like the parking wars stuff on social media with like people parking in Boston. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one thing I never
Mm-hmm.
thought of like having a car and being in Boston, and then you got one thing is shoveling it out, but two is just making sure you don't lose your spot. It's a
That's
dogfight.
my that's where I'm at right now too. Like I have my own little lot, but when snowstorms happen, I have to park in the public 24-hour lot. So if I'm not in there by like 4 p.m. the day before, I don't have a spot.
That's
It's
ass.
hard. It's rough out here.
Yeah, I know this past week for me, I haven't. If you're following us on socials again, like that underscore pod, you would be seeing us, especially on X, is where we're posting most of our bets. But this week, kind of had not had the time to really dig as much as I wanted to. Like you were talking about the snow, I was doing a lot of snow removal, and my rec basketball league. Hey, if they need me, they need my 2 points per game.
We're gonna get to 10 eventually,
I
before the season's over.
I only have one more game. And like
Okay.
there's a league
There's time.
there's a league starting in like 2 months, but I got one more game to get 10 points. Uh,
Never say never.
no,
I would
I've
say
had the
I
shot
mean,
attempts. I just suck.
hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, man.
Exactly. Like the one thing that like the team doesn't get mad when I take a shot because it's an open shot. I might miss some layups, but like there's never a why'd you take that shot moment. But
Oh, dude,
I think I'm like one.
can't relate there.
I think I'm like 1 for 10 from three this year. But in
It's okay.
lighter notes, bet my unders if you ever see them. But what are we talking about today? A little bit of football talk today. Been a little bit since we have. We've seen some people get franchise tagged. We've seen some waiver drops or just people get released, and some interesting quarterbacks hitting the market. So we're gonna start there. After that, kind of giving you a new segment here. Each week we're gonna break down. Want to bring back our poop game of the week in some type of aspect, and in this way, it's poop team of the week, and not from your standard, just like oh they've lost every game. It's really how are they doing against the spread? Who's really disappointed you on both the team side and the player side? And then just ending it with a little conversation. I know Jayson Tatum's been a big talking point recently on if he's going to be returning this season, and we're going to share our thoughts on that. But I think to start here, let's go straight into what's happened so far with the NFL offseason. We've seen some important tags already go through with Kyle Pitts, George Pickens, Brees Hall, all getting the franchise tag. Daniel Jones getting a transition tag, which is interesting for those that don't know. So he gets transition tag for $37 million on a 1-year deal, but it still allows him to seek out a contract from another team. Which I don't know about you. Do you think there's another team that's going to offer him a multi-year deal with his current
I mean,
injury?
probably not. I mean, because if you're another team that is gonna want to sign him, you're gonna have to pay over that 37 million at least yearly, and like that's a lot of money. I mean, and you're going off of one really good year where they were the best offense for 8 weeks before he got hurt, compared to the prior few other years where it was just like in a dumpster fire in New York. Not trashing on Daniel Jones. I mean, he was going off before he got hurt last year, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a big risk if you're gonna sign a guy that is coming off. What was the injury again?
Yeah,
Fibula?
uh, everything. He's out all year.
Like literally everything. Right. Yeah, I think that was the smartest move for the Colts because then after the tag's up, you can sign him for a different amount.
Yeah, I think it's a big risk for a team to go out there and try to offer him a multi-year deal with, like you said, the track record in New York isn't too crazy. You're gonna bank everything on a 7-game window. it's insane. But the transition tag out there on Daniel Jones, probably going to go back to the Colts. But just this week, we saw Kyler Murray get released. We saw Kenneth Walker not get a franchise tag. And funny enough, we were going to record this episode a couple hours earlier, and it's a good thing we didn't because Stephon Diggs ends up getting released. That's another big one for the Patriots. But I kind of want to start with Kyler Murray. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I've owned him in a dynasty league. We're going into year 5 now, so I've always been a little bit of a Kyler fan.
I do too. So
yeah,
this has big implications for the Alden Street team.
So we both have interest in where Kyler Murray goes next, and I don't view him like I think Kyler Murray definitely has his struggles. You know, he's a shorter quarterback. He doesn't really throw over the middle of the field. And when you saw the difference in production from the wide receiver room when Jacoby Brissett came in, you know, it makes an argument of, you know, what type of quarterback really is Kyler Murray at his peak, right? So getting released now from the Cardinals, you know, there are a decent amount of teams that are going to be looking for a starting quarterback. Having him in my dynasty team and also just as a place I think he could see success, I think Miami would be really cool. You're going to get paired up with Achane, Jalen Waddle. You already have like some decent pieces on the offense, and that's an O-line that isn't great. Tua was always a quarterback that got the ball out early, and Kyler isn't necessarily going to throw with anticipation, but this is a guy that's going to move out of the pocket. He's going to scramble, and so he could extend the play. So I think Miami would be really cool for him. I don't know where you think he should land, but
I think if Mike McDaniels was still coaching the Miami Dolphins, it would be really cool because that just gives like this offense like a whole new way to play the game, especially if you have Kyler, Achane, and Waddle. Like, I could see Wildcat like almost every play. Like, it's just very like even if he still goes, though, I'm just saying it's like that offense. Like, you could do a lot with that because you have a quarterback who's mobile, he's fast. Same thing with Achane. He's basically a receiver / running back. Like, he could do it all. And Waddle is still arguably a top 15, top 20 receiver in the league when he's healthy. Um, I do think Minnesota or the Jets would also be interesting fits. I mean, I feel like in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson's kind of at his breaking point. Like, he's just, it's basically him, you know? And, like, you still have Jordan Addison. We also forgot to mention Aaron Jones got released, too, from the Minnesota Vikings. He's getting up there in age. So, I mean, this Minnesota team's kind of in, like, a weird spot. The coaching staff really isn't that high on McCarthy. Granted, he was having some injury issues, so he didn't really get a full year. Realistically, though, I could see the Jets or Miami. I think the Jets have the money to offer him a bag, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure, especially coming from the fan base, that they need to do something. So I could see Kyler going to the Jets, and then they try to make a move in the draft, try to get him with another lineman or another weapon. But I could see Miami too. Miami would be pretty cool.
I think one thing that gets included when you talk about Kyler going to the Jets is really, you mentioned like the big price tag. I don't think Kyler's really going to have that. You know, like I think if he had if he was going into this expecting a lot of money, he probably would have been traded before released. You know, somebody would have probably wanted to get some part of that deal. So I think he might be going a little bit cheaper, but the Jets, I don't think you take a quarterback at 2, and the history of taking quarterbacks past round 1 really does not hit well. So if you need another bridge, you know, he's going to be better than Justin Fields and probably would ask for a similar contract. I think Minnesota would be such a cool landing spot just because, again, being with KOC and having Justin Jefferson there, like you say, you know, the coaching is there, the team's there, but there's, you know, a battle for that QB1. You know, you're going to definitely have to fight with McCarthy there. So, but like, I think Miami's just where he just gets the keys and they just say have fun, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
That'd
be cool.
The other player that I really want to bring up right now is Kenneth Walker. Doesn't get the franchise tag. I don't know if you saw that clip from the parade when the GM was kind of hammered and like was just like awkwardly mentions, yeah, he was talking about getting the franchise tag, or you know, it's just it's like what?
Yeah.
But Kenneth Walker is gonna get a lot of money.
Yeah. 100%.
I think there's still, if you ask me right now, I still think he finds some type of way to go back to Seattle. I think he wants to stay in Seattle, but at that same time, Seattle's got a lot of people they need to re-sign, and maybe they don't believe in the running back so much. And I think a dark horse team that could go out and sign Kenneth Walker would be the Tennessee Titans. You've already got your rookie
Oh,
QB. You've
so gross.
drafted around the O line. Your running back right now is, you had Tony Pollard, you have Tajay Spears, but you add in Ken Walker as a legitimate, all-star. I say all-star, but a top 15 running back in the league, probably closer to 10. So I think that dramatically changes the Titans' offense. I can see him going a couple other places, like, again, Minnesota just has that opening now. Arizona's backfield looks a little crazy too, but I think Kenneth Walker to the Titans would be sick.
I have to agree with you there. And also, um, who did they just sign as their head coach? Oh God,
Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh. We haven't talked football in months, and now all of a sudden we're just pivoting into it. So I'm just trying to like rejuvenate. So apologies. I think Robert Saleh being the head coach down there too, it adds a little bit more of like kind of like a landing spot for free agents to want to go. Like they're rebuilding this front office. They're trying to develop this young quarterback who I feel like the Titans kind of exceeded expectations towards like midway point of the season. Like that offense kind of started to click. Shimmery DK and Aomayer like kind of progressed into like stud, not necessarily stud, but like really good up and coming receivers that like if they get a little more coaching and you put like a solid star receiver with them in that room, they could develop very nicely. And like you mentioned, that O line too. They have a lot of depth. They're very young, and Ken Walker did go there. That'd be cool. But I think him not getting the franchise tag just means that him and Seattle are gonna try to work out a long term deal because I do think they value the running back position. This is the first Super Bowl MVP running back since the '90s. It would kind of be stupid to just let him walk away for nothing. You know?
Yeah, no, I think it comes down to really how much Seattle values the running back position. The last few years, the trends of the NFL is running back by committee, build the O line. You can always draft a guy that can run. So I still
I
think,
think
yeah.
I think if Charbonnet wasn't hurt going into the new season, it'd be different.
Yeah,
I think they
he's going to
wouldn't
be out
question
most
it
of the
as
year.
much. Right. So with him being out a good chunk of their year, especially when they were splitting that backfield, I think they're gonna want to keep him.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But, Tennessee's got the cap space to offer more. So I think if he's chasing a bag and they see the opportunity there, who knows? Who knows? But
Hmm.
we're not going to go over everything that's happened, but what else has caught your eye so far?
For me, David Montgomery actually just getting traded from the Lions to the Texans. They only gave up a fifth rounder for him. Just weird. I just thought it was a weird trade overall. I mean, especially and not necessarily for the Lions, because I mean, I know you're a Gibbs owner. You're like, yippee! Like this is if you're like for the Lions, it makes sense, but for the Texans, it's just I thought it was odd because there's just a lot of questions in that backfield. Like, what does this mean for Woody Marks? What does this mean now? Like, you still have Joe Mixon on the roster. He didn't play all year last year, so is he done? Like, what's going on with that? Um, Nick Chubb. What are you gonna do with Nick Chubb? Uh, there's just a lot. There's a lot of questions, and it's Montgomery's good. Don't get me wrong, but had some injury issues last year. Wasn't great the year before. He kind of had his peak 2 years ago when the Lions were disgusting. So I don't know. I just thought it was. I didn't think it was a bad trade for the Texans, but it's just more so like a. That's weird, you know.
Yeah, that trade again. Yeah, as a Gibbs dynasty owner, I've been wanting Montgomery out of the backfield for a couple of years now. But you saw towards the end of the year that the offense did just kind of just go through Gibbs. There was constant Dan Campbell quotes saying we're going to get Montgomery more involved, and like you said, the yards per carry weren't there this year. He was not efficient, and it looked like he was slowly getting phased out of that offense. But when you look at it from the Texans' perspective, Texans already, you talk about a team that's made some early moves. They traded with the Browns to bring in another O lineman, and they immediately extend him. Or excuse me, other way around. They flip a lineman to the Texans or to the Browns, and the Browns immediately extend him. They get some draft capital there, and from
Mhm.
there, you look at this running back room, like you said. Woody Marks kind of took over towards the end of the year, but even when he got a little banged up, they really did not have much depth there. I don't think Nick Chubb is a long-term asset, and when you look at the Joe Mixon injury report, there's no timetable. Like there's a chance
No.
there's a chance we might have seen the last of Joe Mixon in the NFL. I don't think that's an insane thing to say, but I think trading for Montgomery kind of shows that they're planning for a world without Joe Mixon.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like at this point you should just say that. But
Just cut him and get it out of the way.
Yeah, and then another trade I wanted to talk about, which actually happened today, earlier on in the day. It was Trent McDuffie, corner from the Kansas City Chiefs, getting traded to the Rams. This will be the second time the Chiefs trade an All-Pro corner to the Rams. Last time they did this, it was Marcus Peters, I believe 2019. I forget what year it was, 2018, 2019. But Chiefs got back pick 29 in the first round. They got, I believe, a third and a fifth. They got a lot of picks for it. And then Rams, though, getting that upgrade at secondary, which we saw how good that defense was. And then obviously towards the end of the year, it was kind of lackluster. And then it kind of even showed in the NFC Championship game against Seattle. Like JSN was just cooking them. Not even then, though. It was just even Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was also a big problem for him. So I think this is actually a win for both sides. I mean, me personally, with the Rams, they obviously upgrade at the secondary position. With the Chiefs, this is the first year in a long time that you're going to start the season without Mahomes. So how are you going to plan with that? How's that going to look? So I guess my question for you, Nico, is like, now that you have picked 29 in the first round, like, what do you do? What direction do you go here? You know?
Well, if I'm the Chiefs, like you said, this trade makes sense for both sides because the Chiefs are not going to be a competitive team next year. So you kind of do want to take in those get as many young assets as you can, and McDuffie's got to get paid. So that's something that when you're viewing that long-term roster, Mahomes' cap hit, it's always always going to be at the top. So you have to make room somewhere, and McDuffie unfortunately was the one to go. An interesting thing about this that I saw was the Rams have not made, or they've made one draft pick in the first round since 2017. That was Jared Verse.
Yes.
But the Rams have, I think it's currently I think it's like 11th or 13th pick from the Falcons. So they still have one in the first round. But going to your question there, like I think the Chiefs now holding 2 first-round picks, usually their game plan has always been, just take the guy that falls. There's always a couple players in the draft, whether it's off the field, whether it's injury history, that just drop a little bit in the draft board. And teams like Kansas City and Baltimore have always done a good job of taking those players. But if you look at the depth chart, they definitely need to draft in the secondary. And by the end of the first round, you've got a couple solid corners from Tennessee that I think would slot in pretty well. So I think the Chiefs are going to get younger. I even think at 11, I would assume it's not going to be like a flattering pick. Like they're going to draft like an O line or D line. But I think they're going to address corner in some way, whether it's through free agency or through the draft. But with them not competing next year, probably going to be through the draft.
I just think, this is also a lot of their, like, Mahomes not questioning age as a factor, but he's getting up there. And like Kelsey is just like, you don't kind of know with him. So you kind of have to start like planning for the future, get some depth in here. So, and I mean, they did that though. And now they have the picks to do that. And with free agency coming up, it'll also be kind of interesting to see who they target, who they go for.
Yeah, I think next week we're gonna continue our talk on free agency. I think we're gonna either go best quarterback landing spots or just overall bet top free agent destinations. Like you've got guys like Trey Hendrickson that's out there. You got Reek Woolen that's out there, and just like we mentioned earlier this episode, Stephon Diggs just gets released from the Patriots. So there's interesting names out there, but that's gonna be something we're gonna push down for next episode. But to jump into now our weekly installment for the basketball season until it is out, talking about our teams of the week and our poop team of the week. This week we did a collective vote because it was pretty obvious on both sides really where what team deserved it, what team didn't. But there's going to be other weeks where all three of us bring teams to the table. But any preference on where we go first, Nick? You want to do the good team or the bad team?
We should. Let's start with the bad, because then we can end off on a good note.
I like that. I think
that's
pun intended.
I think that's good.
Right. I'll introduce this side. You could talk about the good team, but our poop team of the week is none other than the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls.
We need a sound.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to start getting a sound for this.
Well, I was like, you can't use the poop game of the week necessarily, but
I can do it here. I can just go. How's that? Did that work?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh,
Are you trying to fart into the mic?
yeah, it's not working.
Your mic's too good at the noise reduction.
Yep.
So why are the Bulls ranked where they are? Well, just to show you from the season, they have the 24th ranked offensive rating, 25th defensive ranking. They've not been a good team all year round, but if you want to talk about just specifically what's happened in recent times, in their last 17 games, they are 4-13 against the spread. That includes not winning a single game in February, and to be fair, their schedule as of late it's been a little bit tougher. You face a lot of teams that are above the standings in both the East and the West, but it's one thing to lose the games. But these sports books, they're spitting out spreads, and these Bulls are not covering them. To give credit where credit is due, though, because I put these in my notes back on Monday, and their last two games played in March, they've covered both spreads, and they won one of those games. So they knew we were talking shit right around the corner, and they had to do something. But I don't know if you put any money on the Bulls, how much you've watched the Bulls, but it's just ugly everywhere.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. And from how they had a hot start at the beginning of the year too. I don't know if you
5-0.
remember that. Yeah, they everybody was like, "Ooh," and now when you look in, it's just it's not pretty. I mean, the whole offense in general, it's just tough to watch. I mean, they traded for Colin Sexton, but he hasn't really, made much of an impact on this team yet. I mean, Josh Giddey is still having a pretty good year, but he's their leading scorer with 17. Doesn't really as it for a day and age where all you do is shoot threes. If you don't have a guy on your team averaging at least 20, you got to change something respectfully. And, I'm looking at their stats right now, and Kobe White and Vucevic were their two other leading scorers, and they are off the team now. So, I mean, Boulos is having a great year. Don't get me wrong. He's averaging 15. He's played every single game for them, averaging nearly 30 minutes a night. I mean, that's one key upside. Anthony Simons has only played 6 games for them. He's also kind of been dealing with injuries, but same thing. They just got rid of Ayo. They got Jaden Ivey, who's kind of been It's just kind of a interesting roster. They have a lot of pieces. They have a lot of guys that just are kind of struggling right now. And I mean, they're only 8 games under 500, which compared to some of the other teams in the East, it's like not bad. But literally, if you just go look at their schedule and just see the amount of L's that they've had, it's rough. I mean, 2 losses to Brooklyn. Or excuse me, 3. That's not that's rough.
Like just flat out 0-11 in February. Like there's no love in Chicago right now. That was
you don't win a game. You win a single game.
You got to go a whole month as a fan. Just watch every game. You're like maybe this is the night. But if you go off of just like February, like to give credit again where credit's due. This is the opponents they faced in February. It went the Heat, the Bucks, the Raptors, the Nuggets, the Nets, which that's the one you got to win. But Celtics, Raptors, Pistons, Knicks, Hornets, Blazers. That was the month of February. So like, a month from hell, the worst schedule you could have. But their season record against the Nets is 1-3. You gotta do better. But a team that they're supposed to suck this year. So I mean, give credit where credit's due there. But you're not covering the spread. Like when we're talking about our favorite team, our bad team of the week, we're looking at this from the betting perspective of it. So not only do they suck, but they also suck against the spread.
Yes.
But what about our good team?
Our good team it's probably not a big shocker because they're actually one of the most hot teams in the NBA right now, Charlotte Hornets. They are currently on a 5-game win streak. However, in their last 15 games, they have covered the spread 13 out of the 15. Only 2 of those games were back-to-backs. So that's a keynote. I just wanted to include that because this team is really good when they get at least a day of rest. And they are also 18-12 against the spread after a win. But yeah, man, this Hornets team has been getting some chatter this season. They've been on fire. They're a fun team to watch. Brandon Miller's been their leading scorer this year. He's been shooting lights out, 43% from the floor. They have some young guys. I don't want to mispronounce their names, so I'm not even going to try it.
Diabate?
Diabate. Yeah. He's been a nice surprise. He's been pretty good on the boards for them. They're just able to keep up with some of these teams, man. And they're they're averaging 116 points per game, but the thing about how dangerous this Hornets team is, like, I'm looking at their last 5. They've scored almost 130 in their last 5. Like, they once they hit a rhythm, they just can't stop. They shoot lights out. This team is really a good scoring team, and granted, they dropped almost 130 on Pacers, Chicago, and Washington. But still, if you're able to beat up on the bad teams and compete with the good teams, there's a recipe for success there.
Yeah, in that 5-game win streak, they had their closest margin of victory was like 16 points. Like these were just blowouts. But this is, you look at all the rosters that LaMelo Ball has been on in Charlotte, and he really hasn't had the supporting cast that he does now. Obviously Khan has come in and really, he's in most years would be the obvious front runner for Rookie of the Year. But of course you got Cooper Flagg fighting him there.
He is. He's favored right now, actually.
But I would say like undisputed. I think in most years by now you would like you go to last year, he's the Rookie of the Year. I think no question. But you combine that with like Brandon Miller, who's getting into growing a little bit. Somebody that I thought was going to take a step up this year, and I don't know if you remember that, but on the podcast I said he was going to have 20. I think it was like 23 points for the whole season. He's sitting at 20.
No, I think it was
right
like 22. Yeah,
so
and then I had Melo 8+ assists. He's averaging 7.5.
So we're close
So
there.
we're close. We are close.
But you're just seeing all of these. You bring up Diabate, you bring up Kalkbrenner, the front court there, and like they're just doing exactly what they're being asked, and they're playing great defense alongside that. And you've got other pieces like Miles Bridges that is kind of like the veteran presence there. That you need a guy to give you 20 a night. He can do it. He might get in a fight. But the Hornets,
yeah,
they're fun, they're young, and at the same time, like they're rolling. So like this is not a team I want to face going into the playoffs.
No, definitely not. And I think if they keep that momentum going up right now, I'm trying to find the standings. It's not working on ESPN right now. I'm pretty sure they're sitting at the 9 seed. They're tied with Atlanta, or if I'm right.
Yep, they're tied. 31 and 31.
Yeah, if they keep going on a run, who's the 6? They're probably no shot to get out of the play-in. No shot.
You got 20 games to go, and they're 2 games behind Philly for the 6th seed.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, I remember it was closer to that. And Philly's an interesting team, but we could talk about that later. But
yeah, I think it's a good moment to kind of highlight our players of the week and our poop players of the week.
Who I was gonna mention your player, but I'm actually really glad I didn't, because I didn't even realize you kind
of did. Funny enough.
Yeah.
My player of the week, player of the last 2 weeks, based off the stats that I grabbed, but it's gonna be recently traded Coby White. Now I know he's had a little bit of injury problems, hasn't played too much since he's gotten to Charlotte, but if you combine like his last games with Chicago and where he is now, in his last 10 games this dude's averaging 17 points per game, which if you took his points line the last 10, you'd be hitting an 80% hit rate. Only 12 points per game in his 3 games with Charlotte so far, but I think that's something that's going to be figured out as he goes. But just to show how great Coby White has been from the betting perspective, in his last 32 games, if you took his over at 12.5 points, or at 5.5 rebounds, assists, or at 17.5 total PRAs, all of those are hitting. Out of 32 games, they've cashed 27 times. Which wow. I didn't put the percent there, but
it actually sucks, because I bet on Coby White I think a week ago, and that was one of the days it did not hit.
that's incredible.
I bet points, assists, and I think it was his second game in Charlotte, and no. That was his one game he had a stinker.
That's incredible. Which, if you want to do the math on that, again, that's hitting at an 84% hit rate.
I could tell you.
So
while you keep talking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You had an 80. If you go off of that 84% chance to pick any of those games to pick, and you landed in the 1/8 that chose not to.
Nice.
What about you? Who's your player?
My player is Jalen Duren. And it's also kind of in the betting sense, but Nico and I had a little bit of a mix-up earlier in the episode. So I also included why, though, I do think he's just been player of the week. He's in his last 5, he's averaging 20 and 10. And against the really, really good teams, I know I said it within the week, but within his last 10, they've played Cleveland twice, OKC, and the Spurs. And in those games, he's had against Spurs 25 and 14. Against the Thunder, he had 29 and 15. 33 and 16 against the Cavs, 24 and 14. Like, not only is he's just like having these insane games against top 5 teams especially like team that has Wembanyama, and you're putting up 29 and 15, or excuse me. Yeah, 29 and 15. That's insane, dude. He's just been so consistent this season. He's actually had a 70% hit rate in his last 10 if you had his points rebounds line at over 29 and a half, which is also pretty crazy. And one thing I do want to point out is in the overtime win against Cleveland, he went 11 for 15 from the free throw line, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that I think he averages no more than like 4 free throws a game. So it was also pretty good. But Jalen Duren, if not probably one of the centerpieces as to how the Pistons are being so dominant. I mean, he has been. I don't know if you remember last year, he was just like a free double-double every day.
Yeah, yep. Towards the end of the year, that was a play that I really liked.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jalen, you can't talk about the Detroit Pistons' success this year without including Jalen Duren. I mean, made the All-Star team this year, averaging, he went last year, he was averaging like 11 points per game. Now he's up to 18, 11 boards, and again, a great defensive anchor for that Detroit team. So he's a large part of their success, and he's been cooking as of late. But if
Also, really quick, sorry, over 60% from the floor, which as a center, that's like, but he's averaging like almost like 15 attempts per night. Like he's shooting the ball a lot. He's getting a lot of looks, and he's shooting over 50%, which is kind of insane too.
yeah,
Like he's very consistent.
I think people that are like I don't want to call them casuals of the league, but this is a guy that's very comparable to like an Evan Mobley, based off their play styles. I mean, I know 18 and 10. That's Mobley's line right there. Call that boy AT&T for a reason. But if we want to highlight, talking about our poop players of the week, if we want to talk about a center that has struggled this year on a team that's had some really good highs, had some really low lows. But overall, I don't think Brook Lopez has been that guy that the Clippers. I mean, granted, he's an older center. You're not going to ask too much of him, but at the same time, he has been pretty disappointing this year. Do you know Brook Lopez's averages off the top of your head?
He's on the Clippers, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with 6 points, like 5 rebounds.
He's averaging
2 assists.
7 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and he's shooting 39% from the field this year, which is a career low. Never had a.
How many minutes is off that though?
He's averaging about like 20, 25 a night. You're seeing some nights where he's getting over 30. That's what I'm saying.
Damn.
Like you see these numbers and you think like, oh, maybe he's just like at the end of the rotation, but no, he's playing.
And that's like no Zubac either.
So not only is he sucked on the court, but again, let's look at this from the prop perspective here. Brook Lopez in his last 20 games, if you bet on his rebound line, he has cashed 30% of the time. If you bet in his last 20 games on his points rebounds line, that is cashed 25% of the time. Since the calendar year has turned into 2026, Brook Lopez has had 3 games with more than 7 rebounds. Like I mean, I know his days from Milwaukee are far behind him, but this dude was signed to Brooklyn signed to the Clippers to give them a little bit more 3-point shooting to add to that front court depth, and we've just seen a total regression from Brook this year. Granted, he's had a couple games in the last few weeks where he's gotten up to 15 points, but again, hit rate has not been there. I want to shout out his performance against the Timberwolves on the 26th. In 32 minutes, he went 2 for 12. So
nice.
Don't put your money on Brook Lopez anytime soon.
Yeah, that makes me not want to do that. Mine now. I was trying to find. Okay, well, we'll just do it with my notes. My player, probably kind of obvious if you just watch basketball and also how much we shit on this team on this podcast. Michael Porter Jr. from the Brooklyn Nets. Um, but I mean, like, I shouldn't really have to describe his betting stats because, like, if you're just betting on this guy to score, I'm sorry, dude. Like, he sucks. And granted, this Nets team is really bad. But really quickly, last night, they played the Miami Heat. He went 3 for 17 from the floor. 17 of those shots, 9 of them were from 3. He didn't make a single one. He is currently at a negative 171 plus minus on the season, which is terrible.
How
His
much of that
last
is
game
him, or how much of that is the Brooklyn Nets?
he oh dude, like I'm sorry, even when you look at the games that he's won, he still have had a plus minus in the negatives. Like he does not help this team on the floor. The last time that he was positive was the game that they played against Denver. That was in January. And that was the game he had 40, where I think the highest second scoring that game had like 12. If you bet on MPJ's 3-point line, I'm sorry. I know we have already once before. He is 1 for 10 in his last 10 at 3.5 because that's what his line at. And his line is set that high is because this guy just shoots so many threes. So, like Brooklyn said, if the volume's there, he's got to make them. No, dude. I can't. He hit this line. I think it was the Denver game. I think that was the last time he's hit this line. Or, I mean, 1 for 10 in his last 10. It's one of them. But career-wise, he's averaging 18 attempts per game, which is 5 more than he did in Denver. And he's also averaging 9 3 attempts per game, and he's only making 3 per game. So he's averaging at least 9. Like one of these days, the lucky bastard that bets Michael Porter Jr. 4+ threes and he makes the 4. God bless you, man. But there's a reason why it's plus odds every night.
Yeah, he's only hit since the beginning of February. He's only had 4+ threes once, and funny enough, it was just on March 1st. But this is a guy that when you look at the Nets, there isn't much to do. He's filled that Cam. He's a better Cam Thomas in the way that he can shoot a little bit better in that way. But again, give credit where credit's due, man. MPJ's given 24 a night. A lot of it being garbage, but when you look at these box scores. Just look at the field goal percentages, man. You're seeing, I'm just going from most recent down. You're seeing 3 for 17, 10 for 17, 6 for 12, 9 for 22, 9 for 16. And if you think that's not that bad, when you look at the 3-point percent or the 3-point attempts, 0 for 9, 5 for 8, 2 for 4, 3 for 9.
He's just chucking it.
He's
oh my god.
He's lived up
1
to
for
the
12?
nickname.
He went 1 for 12 from 3 in November. Oh my god.
He's putting out he's putting out tour dates when he's shooting 1,000%. But
in December he took 14 threes against Miami. He made 5. Like why? Like at that point, just stop. 14 of the 24 shots you're taking are from 3.
He knows that this team is not going to win most of the time, but he's going to get his shots. He's going to let it fly, And I think when you're down so much, you kind of do have to force the threes most of the time. So MPJ, unfortunately, not cashing from 3, but he is. So for the inaugural poop, I'd say poop performances of the week, we've got the Chicago Bulls being at the bottom of the East. We've got Brook Lopez shooting his way to retirement, and MPJ shooting the lights on in Brooklyn. Whereas we've got
keeping them on.
We've got the highlights of the week being the Charlotte Hornets, newly acquired Kobe White and Jalen Duren, all doing what they need to do. But to get into our main talking point for the rest of the episode here, I want to bring up Jayson Tatum specifically. I mean, two of us if there's any team that we've watched the most of, it is the Boston Celtics. And, all year it's been talked about, when is Tatum going to come back? Is he going to come back? Do they need him to come back? And if you asked me at the beginning of the year, I would say no. This team, the Celtics were their win line at the beginning of the year was, I think it was like 42.5. Like this was a team that they thought were just going to be 500, and instead the Celtics have been electric. You're talking about number two. Like I've got a lot of top 5 stats here to spit out real quick, but the Boston Celtics are number 2 in offensive rating, number 2 in net rating, number 1 in limiting offensive turnovers, number 2 in field goal percentage finishing at the rim. Then you look on defense, they're number 6 in defensive rating, they're number 3 in third in opponent true shooting percentage. So this is a team that's just been hitting on all cylinders. You saw that at the deadline you acquire Vucevic, which means there are plans to hopefully go deep into this playoff run. And if Tatum comes back, I think at this point now he if he wants to, if he's 85-90%, I think you do play Jayson Tatum before you get to the playoffs. But I think you think differently on this.
I do, because this is literally your franchise player. This is your star. This is the guy that you threw all the chips in for. No disrespect to Jaylen Brown. I mean, he has not only lived up to the expectation of I can lead this team, but people are now saying that he can bring this team to win a championship without Tatum. So I think I think rushing Tatum back, especially like all the stats that you just mentioned right now, this is without him. So I don't necessarily see why you're rushing to throw him in here when you already have something that's working so well and teams can't stop. Not necessarily saying the addition of Jayson Tatum doesn't help. It does. Like, it's going to make it a super team. But also at the same time, this is a guy that just tore his Achilles not even a year ago. Like, there is no rhyme or reason to rush him back. Granted, if they were the worst team in the East right now, they still wouldn't rush him back. They probably would wait. But I think in the position that they have right now, especially with how the seeding's going, they're probably going to be the 2. And with the way that they're playing right now, it's not like they're missing him. If they were missing him, I would say yeah. But they have filled the void without him since the beginning of the season. And I know personally, I just don't think it's worth the risk of having a guy come back not even a year after tearing your Achilles to try to force something that it seems that you have the roster that you can already do it.
Do you think this roster, as it stands now, as it's played all year, do you think this team has a legitimate shot at winning the finals?
I know we talked about this yesterday, and I said no, but looking back on it, yes, I think they do. Without Tatum, I still think they could. I think the inexperience that they have with Hugo and, some of the other guys that they have kind of outweighs having Brown, White, Vucevic, and even Pritchard now. Like, these guys have been there. They have like 3 of your main guys that are still there have already won a title with this team. Not to mention Vucevic, who was a generational talent not too long ago for the Magic. Like, he was a dog. So I still think they do. And if
What
this was
percent
100,
would you give? What odds would you say that if you had to give the Celtics odds to win the finals right now, what would you give?
like 30%,
How much does that increase with Jayson Tatum?
like 40, maybe
Interesting.
35, 40.
See, I disagree. I think the Celtics as they
I don't
stand
think
now.
I don't think they're better than OKC. Even with Tatum, I still don't think so. I think if they played Denver with Tatum, it would give them a little bit over an edge, but Jokic is still scary to me. And San Antonio doesn't scare me because that team's too young and they haven't won anything. And Wemby's gross, but it's Fox. You have Fox is leading that offense, and they just made the playoff. He just made his first playoff appearance not even 3 years ago. So it really also just kind of depends on who they match up against. But they had a difficult time even with Tatum against the Knicks last year before he went down. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And also, like, quick little history lesson here. I don't know if you remember, but Kobe Bryant literally got hurt not even a week after he came back from tearing his Achilles and missed the rest of the year after that. He suffered a knee injury in the same leg. Now, this was almost 20 years ago. So like medicine's different, rehab's different, we know more. But if just I like you can't tell me though, like if Tatum suits up this week, you can't tell me there's not going to be a little bit of worry if you're a Celtics fan watching him play full 5-on-5. Like obviously they're going to ease him in with minute restriction and whatnot. Yeah. And like yeah, it's going to be great. But you're not going to feel like it's a little rushed? No?
I don't think so. I don't think so because like you've seen Joe Mazzulla anytime he's been asked about Tatum coming back, he's dodged the question entirely. So if Jayson Tatum is playing, then I'm taking that as the coaching staff, the medical staff, the front office, everybody believes that Tatum is at the level that he needs to be back on the court. And I agree that I think there's going to be some type of minute restriction, but even getting Jayson Tatum for 20-25 minutes, that helps out your rotation big time. Like Jordan Walsh, like Hugo Gonzalez, like you said, guys that have stepped up because of missing your number one guy. But I don't think Celtics fans would get mad at if the Rooks took a little bit of a back seat because your star's back. I mean, like you said, the Celtics have been great without him. Jaylen Brown's having career highs across points, rebounds, assists, and this is a team that hasn't lost back-to-back games since November. So yeah, like they have the history to show that like this is a team that can give any top team in the West a run in a 7-game series. But you add Tatum, I think all of a sudden there is a conversation that this team can beat the Thunder. I think that with how the Nuggets have been this year, I think you add Tatum there. I don't really, I don't think it's a fair fight. I think the Celtics are heavy favorites there. So my perspective on it is if Tatum plays, that's the Celtics telling us that they think he's perfectly healthy. And I think it also shows that they're poised to make a deep run in this playoff.
If they do, and like, listen, I love Tatum. I love this team, but it's also at the point to just where it's a high risk, high reward situation, I guess you could say, because a lot of people are just saying this is really early for an Achilles injury to come back, like not even a year before. And like, I'm sure this guy has been rehabbing probably 3 times a day, every day since he's been able to try to get back on the court. I have no rhyme or reason. Like, I don't think it's the team rushing him. I think it's Tatum just like genuinely believing that he's ready. And I'm sure he is. But to me, it's just too much of a high risk, high reward situation, especially when it's like your franchise player that we're talking about here. Like, don't get me wrong, I love JB, love Jaylen Brown to death, but this guy's gonna be 30 pretty soon. We have to keep that in mind. Like, JB's not getting any younger, and with the career highs that he's putting up this year, that's probably not going to carry over within the next few years. I just think like age is a thing in the NBA. It happens to everybody.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's kind of
sometimes you just catch wind at the right moment and you got to capitalize. You go out and you acquire Vucevic at the deadline, who's on he's going to be a free agent at the offseason. So again, if we're talking at the beginning of the season, it's pretty obvious the Celtics had a hole in the front court, but I didn't think they were going to be in a position at the deadline to really go in and buy, and then they did.
But I just but to your point though, if you go in and buy and now you have the team to make a run and you've been on a run, why I just don't see it. I just don't like I get it. I really understand. But if you don't win the whole thing this year, you're getting 110% Jayson Tatum in September of next year. Like, that's my point. It's like you have this roster who's top 5 in offense, defense, everything. You have Jaylen Brown, who at this point could probably lead this team to the finals. Why put Tatum in the position of playoff basketball for him to go out and get hurt again? Why do that?
I think there's a clear reason to do that.
If it makes the team better, sure. But also at the same time, I just think if you have a chance to have a fully healthy Jayson Tatum with this roster next year, too? That already is probably going to win over 50 games? I don't know.
But why not both?
I get it.
There's a world
I
where that can
see,
exist. You just gotta
but
take the risk.
all right, but I also don't want to be sitting here again in September and saying, yeah, Tatum played and tore his other fucking Achilles or like re-injured his Achilles.
No,
Because that's a thing that could happen.
I agree with you. Like, we haven't seen a player come back this quick, and there are reasons to
No.
worry. There are a million reasons to worry. But if you look at, again, if you have faith in the medical staff there, and I think that it's an immediate help to the Celtics, and yeah, it does push them back into, damn, this team could win the title. But
I
anything else
think
you
it's
want to
just
add to
high
it?
risk, high reward. No, no. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm just trying to be a realistic fan looking in. I'm not trying like I love Jason Tatum. Don't get me wrong. Like favorite player, favorite Boston sports athlete probably, other than Isaiah Thomas all time. But I to that point, I don't
He's your
I
king.
don't want to
You don't
like
want to hurt him.
yeah, I don't want to ruin this guy's career, but also at the same time, like I'm taking the Tatum like hard eyes off, and I'm just being like, maybe we shouldn't rush this guy back.
But what if it's
Because
not?
it's
Yeah,
just
maybe
like
it's not a rush. That's what I'm trying to argue. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a rush.
maybe not. We'll see.
We'll see.
The only thing that we can do is see.
But I think that's gonna do it here for this episode of the Like That podcast. Again, socials like that _ pod on Instagram, TikTok, X, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you enjoy your social media. And next week we'll be back again. I know we're definitely going to be talking about the NFL free agency in some capacity, and then of course what else has gone around the league, our poop game or poop team of the week, poop player of the week. Definitely got to get some sounds for that. So
Yeah.
we'll be back, and you'll be hearing some funny stuff. No, you don't want to say goodbye?
Oh, adios.
Good night.
Goodbye.